Sorry, guys, that last session was interrupted. So I'm going to try and get back online here. So I'm looking at a bunch of stocks right now. BYND, Beyond Meat, is making new highs for the day, and I'm long that stock. I'm also short Baidu. So I don't know if I can get the session back. It was interrupted, and now I'm just going to wait for people to stream back in, see if that works. So I'm just checking out some of these markets. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Beyond Meat's at the high of the day right now, 154.20. I'm long that. I'm also short Dash, DASH. I'm short Baidu, BIDU. So kind of got a full menu here. The markets are in a really kind of high flux. One day it's value, the next day it's growth. So you've really got to hone in and understand the risk reward of whatever you're trading. You can't just buy or sell based on the premise that a rising tide raises all ships and that the market will bail you out. You really got to kind of know what you're doing here. Dog, can you look at the chart of NAV? Actually looks pretty constructive here. Why, yeah, obviously there was some buyout or it's trading at some, yeah, so I don't know what that chart is. It was probably bought out and, it's just trading at that buyout price. So I like the chart of Beyond Meat, BYND. I think it's going to break out of this coil. If it hits yesterday's high at 157, I think it's got a lot of room to go on the upside. BYND, I'm just going to put that in there, BYND. I think that's got some room to run on the upside. And then I'm short Dash, and I'm short Baidu also, BIDU. What else is going on? Would you consider the Apple bar yesterday? So Apple is starting to look constructive. It held right along this uptrend line, and now it's holding here, and we've got a little inside day bar here today, a little coil. Whenever I see these coil bars, to me, that creates the energy, and however that breaks out, I think Apple is starting to look constructive here. It's starting to look like dog shorted Restoration Hardware, one of my favorite. I've got Restoration Hardware all over my house. I love that company. See the double top at 733. This could come out of here. Let me just take a look at the weekly. Yeah, I can see that. There's let me just check this out. So there's a long uptrend line in RH that comes in. Yeah, it's still much lower, which means it could retest this uptrend line around 550 and still be intact. So I do see that, there's kind of a reversion to the mean, that this thing probably wants to come back down to this trend line. And there could be some room underneath here. I see what you're seeing. Uvxy says, what are your thoughts on Euro odd and pound odd? So I'm long pound New Zealand. GBP AUD. Yeah, so I'm constructive on pound Australian long term. and probably Euro Australian too. It's been in a stealth uptrend. It's kind of a funky chart, but yeah, I like the Euro Australian too. I think you put in a bottom at 153, and you've just kind of been building this base. And I think even on the weekly, it's like it was a fake breakout to the downside here on Euro Australian. So I kind of, yeah, I like these pairs higher. So Ollie says, so I am long the Dow Jones right now. You had a key reversal yesterday, and I kind of bought into that. Um, so I still think the path of least resistance is higher on these indexes. We're bumping right at that high, but I don't see any topping. I don't see any giant reversals or patterns that indicate. I think we're going higher. But it's really starting to slow down now. The momentum is really starting to slow down. As far as crude, I just think a lot of things are just starting to slow down now for the summer or what have you. Maybe people are going on vacation. I kind of just feel like unless you're playing the game stops or the meme stops. So oil, the path of least resistance is higher. What can you say about that? I think the resistance is at 75. Vikas wants to know about HRL. Probably just a good safe. I was looking at HRL right in the height of the recession, just to, as a way to park money very safely. So I think this is one of these stocks that you just buy for a 5-year kind of program, but not something that you would trade. It's in a holding pattern here. It's probably one of these things you just. Farron says, how about Peloton on the short side? I don't know if I'd short that. I think and it is showing some resistance here at this 109. It is showing. Yeah, I think you could short that. I do. I'm short Dash. DoorDash. Where is this thing? I got short today. I think DoorDash has got some resistance up here. Peloton does look like it has resistance at this 109. So yeah, this does look like this thing could start coming off again. Ollie says, what do you think about tomorrow's inflation figure? So I look at each chart based on the integrity of the chart. Then I try and find a risk reward relationship. And then whatever information comes out, to my mind, is just going to shoot prices in the direction that's anticipated. So I don't know what those figures are. I don't really price it into my decision-making matrix. FedEx looks like it's starting to come off here, breaking an uptrend line. It just recently made all-time new highs. It's probably just backing off here. Don't know what to think about this. It's probably a buy into the pullback. I don't know at this point. So I try and get moves as they're about to move out from one area to the other. So I shorted DoorDash into the higher opening today. So close around 135 and a half or 136 and a half, sorry, and it opened about $2 higher. And I just shorted into that, on the basis that I think this stock still has lower to go. And I used the energy of today's higher opening, as a way just to. So even if I'm wrong, I feel like, because I bought it like $3 higher, even if I don't see the stock going up $9 today. So I feel like I can just hang out and take a look and see what's happening and, not get hurt. I may not make a lot of money, but I don't think I'm going to get hurt. So I bought, started shorting Dash right around here, about the 139 area, up about $2.50 for the day. And I think that thing could go lower by the end of the day. What else are you guys looking at? So Michael says, is the risk on your DIA calls or yesterday? So look, Michael, I bought call options that expire on Friday. So I've got 2 days. So I bought the 347 call options. Right now you're trading at 346.70. So you're about 30 points above my strike price. And then I paid about $1 for it. So this has got to go to about 348. So the Dow's got to go about at least 130 points higher by Friday. So otherwise, my options start losing steam very, very quickly. So I still have 3 trading days to go, 2.5 trading days to go. So, I start kind of getting a feel where, I start saying to myself, do I want to lose all of my money at some point? And then I'll just take it off the table independent of what the market's doing. If I don't feel like the market can actually achieve that objective, then I just might peel off whatever I have left and preserve it. But I still like the BIA. I still think that it looks pretty positive. It's yeah, I like this a lot. I think that you could get, the market's all about the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes. What it does in the next 2 hours, it just, it just lays in the reeds, and, we don't really know what. CJ says, do I think Uber, I was looking at Lyft and Uber today as shorts. I think Uber does look like it's, got a lot of resistance here at this 50, 51 area. It does. Let me just look at this weekly. Looks like it just ran out of steam. I don't know if I would short it though. I know I would just kind of leave this. I don't know. Yeah, I would leave this one alone for now. So I like Dash. Dash is starting to make its way a little lower as we're speaking. I like Dash short. I think the risk reward is really good. I think you can risk $2 or $3 and you might be able to make 8. Maybe not today, but I think over the course of the next couple days. So I just like the risk reward on that. I like shorting into a higher opening. So if I like something that's going to go lower and it gives me a better price, meaning that the market opens higher, now I can get short, with the cushion of like $3, and then either the market's going to go $2 higher, or it's going to stay here, or it's going to do nothing. But I feel like I'm not going to get hurt, and yet I could take a get a peek at a market that could. So I'm in a kind of fooling around with my partner about maybe doing something where I have because I started looking at the market in the pre-market session. So I started shorting Dash, in the pre-market around 139. So sometimes when the market's, up in the pre-market, I'll use that energy, and I'll start looking at the things that I want to get on board for the day. So I'm actually talking to my partner. Maybe we'll do, one of these sessions, a couple times a week or something like that, where, I'll just go through my process, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time, about a half hour before the market opens. I'll start talking about what I'm looking at, and if I'm looking to buy something and it's going to open lower, I'll use that lower opening. Conversely, if I'm looking to sell something short, I'll use a higher opening to, get in that. So maybe, we'll do something around that. Barbara wants to know about DDOG. Actually looks like quite a constructive chart. You're banging around at this 94 resistance area. It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, the weeklies look quite constructive. The weeklies look like you should be able to, get above that 94. But it could be, in a bit of a trading range for a while. So the Dow's, trading at the high of the day, and the NASDAQ's going the other way. Okay, Valentina. Yeah, so Michael says, yes, pre-market sessions would be good. I'll let you guys know about that. I just started talking to my partner, and he, he's, a young guy, and he's interested. So he opened up a small account, And we spent about a half hour today, just going through what I was doing. And he ended up with like 3 positions, and we'll see where they go. So yeah, we're thinking about doing that kind of, interaction going forward. I'll let you guys know about that. Um, Not a whole lot going on. I'm long pound New Zealand, and that's hanging out at the 97 area. That thing is, the risk is starting to get squeezed out of pound New Zealand. This thing gets tightening up between 196 and 198 now. So I always talk about this concept of finding areas where there's, smaller risk. And, the pound New Zealand had to go through a lot of churning, but I think, it's churning more and more now in a narrower area. And I think that you could buy pound New Zealand with very little risk here. So AYX, Paul, I did look at AYX today. No, it broke out of that downtrend, and now it's kind of off my radar for now. I took like a $2 loss. I still think this thing wants to go lower, but it's just, markets can hover in these trading ranges for a long time. They can just go to sleep. So, you want to make sure that you're in something that has some energy. This is just bunched up. I don't think it's going to go higher. It's hard to see it going lower. So it's on my radar. But I just can't, I'm not doing anything with that right now. It's really a slow day today. There's nothing. The Dow just made a new high, so maybe my call options will get some life after all. I feel like Beyond Meat wants to make a move. And again, the more it kind of coils in this, 150 to 157 area, the next move, it's likely to uncoil pretty. So I'm going to come keeping an eye on that. I've got a pretty big position in that. A very big position in that, actually. Let's see. And it's really kind of a slow day right now. Chief Engineer says, looking to short gold. What do you think? Yeah, gold's I've just been kind of staying out of the way of gold and silver. I don't know if they're sells. I just can't find a way to. It does feel like it's, coiling up here and resisting. It just can't make a move higher. So if something can't go higher, it just could release to the downside. I would, short it here and just put a buy stop above, yesterday's high. What I would do is wait for the day to close and put a sell stop under today's low, and then use the momentum. Don't try and guess at certain levels intraday. Just wait for it to close. It doesn't look like it's going to do anything today. And then put a sell stop underneath there. And then you could put a, buy stop above like 1905 or something. Fast. What do you think? So STEM, I was making a ton of money on that thing, and it just got destroyed yesterday, and I just got out, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I got out of everything, and maybe I should re-enter above today's high. We've got a little inside day bar here. It's just we came off very hard yesterday, took out the previous day's low, so I got out of everything. And I think this is, I've made a serious amount of money in the last 3 months, but along the way, I've lost a ton of money. And I think what I'm doing better than ever is just detonating, just getting rid of trades that, aren't necessarily working. Now, STEM, I don't know if it's going to work or not. I think I just had too big a position, so I lost my objectivity. But what I've been doing is just dumping trades. So I had an enormous profit in STEM. I had like 50,000 shares, and I was up about $4. And then yesterday I took it all back. So I made nothing. And, if you think about that in terms of money, then it kills you. But I just think, well, okay, I'm just going to get out of that trade and now focus on the next trade that's going to make me money. I can't worry about that anymore. And by doing that, by just purging and cleansing myself of the losers, then, it makes way for the winners. And my winners have just been extraordinary. So, I'm up about 1,000% since late January. But along the way, I've taken some massive losses. So I think it's being very quick to just get rid of the losses, make sure that they're not, getting worse on you. And then, they also, while you're hemorrhaging and thinking about the losses, your focus is all there, and then you're missing all the opportunities. So what I'm really, trying to do is just purge. If things don't work, dump it, dump it, dump it. I've kind of looked now at the market just in terms of the setup. I don't really see what I'm making, and I don't really see what I'm losing. Um, so I just look at the integrity of the setup. Is the integrity of the setup still there? If it's still there, you stay with the trade. If it's not, dump it. Go look at the next one. So Child of God says, your companion is warmth to the industry. So thank you so much. That is a lovely thing to say. Yes, it is a blessing to give than to receive. So people always ask me, why am I doing this? If I'm making so much money, why would I sit on these things? Because I really, first off, my passion is the markets. And, I'd like to help people out. I know how difficult this is. And if I can be of some help, then, it just gives me, great sustenance beyond just making money in the markets. So I'm happy to do it. What else is going on? So what can you tell me about the price action of UVXY? So they priced it out, right? They repriced it because UVXY was going to zero. It's an inverse thing. So the higher the S&P goes, the lower UVXY goes, and you can't have something below zero. So they just repriced it. It doesn't affect anything. If you think the S&P is going to go lower, you'd want to buy UVXY. But right now the S&P is not going lower. So Fisker, I don't think that's the symbol. Is it FSR? It is. It's had a pretty good ride to the upside. You're getting a pretty good, key reversal here. Who's to know? These meme stocks, these stocks that have short interests, you can't even trade them based on any, logical thing. They're pure momentum. And if you're lucky enough to catch a ride, that's great. But I don't think you want to be there when it ends. So right now, kind of the path of least resistance is still higher in that stock. I don't know if I would buy it. The other one was Ride, RIDE, Lordstown, that's basically going to go out of business. So that's probably going to go to zero, RIDE. They went from 13, it's trading at 9, and you'll probably see that thing trade at 1 or less. So I think RID, is out of business, and I would definitely short that. Do you have a scanner? So I do have a scanner. Last night I spent 3 hours going through a whole bunch of stocks, and I really didn't find a whole lot. I spent 3 hours and couldn't really see a lot that excited me. So I do go through a scanner. What was your strategy? Was your strategy the same when you started with 10K or different strategy? So look, I think I've always been trading the same way, Bolshevik. And to me, I don't like to say it, but I do take much higher risk when I feel that, the markets are in certain, are in certain areas where if I can understand, the risk of a stock is like $2. Like when I shorted Dash today, at 140, and yesterday's high was 143, I feel like, okay, that's my risk. If it gets to 143, probably get out, although I don't see why I would get out of Dash today, even if it went higher. I can't see this thing going higher. So if I get in at 140, and let's say my risk is 143, but now I can see this thing down to 130, 125, I'll kind of put on bigger positions than, that, you normally would be advisable, only because the risk So I think there's a risk per position, and then there's a market risk. And I think people are taking either arbitrary risks, or they're saying, okay, I'm only going to put a 15 pip risk in the market, or it's just they're making a static calculation. And the thing is, if you're putting a 15 pip stop loss in a market that's got a volatility of 200 pips, it's even if you think that you're being disciplined, it makes no sense to put a stop loss that small in a market that is that volatile. Now, if you can get in at a certain point, like I think pound New Zealand is getting in slowly at a place where the risk is being dialed out. So for the last couple of months, the risk in pound New Zealand has been 500 pips. And I know that, even though when I bought it at 190, I was very prepared for this kind of volatility. I said it's going to take a long time for this thing to turn around, but now it's turning around. And as it dances to 197, 198, the risk of these, I don't think you're going to get these 300 pip downdrafts anymore. So now the market is at a different stage than where it was, 2 months ago when I was still buying it, but I would have traded with a much smaller position with a much wider stop loss. Now I can, get a bigger position on with a much tighter stop loss. So, risk is, it's a function of, risk per trade, but it's also a function of, where the trade is in the maturation of its, growth, of its development, of its path within a pattern. So sometimes, I've had a half a dozen trades this year where literally I say to myself, when I'm putting on that trade, I have no risk. When I was shorting QuantumScape at $37 2 weeks ago, and the high was around 39, I put on 100,000 shares short. Massive. Relative to my net worth, that's, it's bigger than a 2%, but I just figured I had no risk. So there are certain areas where the market kind of de-risks and you can take, better shots. Now, I don't want to walk you guys into a buzzsaw here where you guys think, okay, I'm just going to put it all on here and what have you. So, Bolshevik, my strategy is always the same. How I look at price, relative to what's going on, like, DoorDash today, how I looked at today's price action relative to the history. So I don't just make it in a vacuum. I didn't just short Dash because, woke up today feeling like, I wanted to do that. There's been a whole history, and I was pointing that out to my partner, the whole setup, and then yesterday at an inside bar. And so I feel like when I shorted Dash at 139, my risk is 143. I felt pretty, so I could put on a bigger position, where, so, but it's all based on a strategy. It's always based on price and price action. It's not something that I heard on the news. It's not something I read on a blog. I relate price action to the history and try and, see where I can get in and size up a risk reward calculation. And you can see DoorDash is starting to drift down now, trading about 138 and a half. And, we'll see where this thing goes. But I feel like even if it doesn't move down today, even if it doesn't go lower, at least I got a peek into that market. I got a kind of a free look to see how this feels, to see if it would work. I may get out by the end of the day, I'll see what happens, but I don't think I'm going to get hurt. So the whole idea is to find areas where you can get in, understand your risk. And so the strategy has always been the same. It's just, there are certain times in the market where the market takes out the risk for you. The more price history you get, the more it kind of bunches up in a certain area based on direction and what have you. It then, reveals a good risk reward. Like today, I would buy a Beyond Meat. I put a buy stop above the high. The high is 154.35. I put a buy stop at 154.50 and put a sell stop under today's low, risk $3. And you might make $12 out of that. Manish says, do you let it do what it's going to do? You may remove your position. So like Tesla today, what did you see that made you change your mind? So yeah, so what changes my mind is markets. So I defer to the market. The market is, I may think so. Last week I came in. I was looking at Zoom, and I wanted to short Zoom. It was trading around 320, and then in the aftermarket or the pre-market, it was trading at 323. So I thought, my thing was I could short it, in a higher opening in the expectation it was going to go lower. So I shorted around 323, and it keeps going up: 324, 325, 320, and then 326 was above the high of the previous day. And I go, this is not working out. This is not. So I bailed out of the shorts and I went long at 326, and then it went to 338 that day. So I lost $3 on the short and I made $12 on the longs. But I kind of thought to myself, it needs to go lower now. And if it doesn't go lower, then there's something wrong with this picture. And so, I will, form a kind of a rationale about prices and then see how markets react to my analysis. And my analysis is very subjective. So I realize that. So I kind of draw my structure, either wait or see, and then, defer to the market action. So Tesla, I'm kind of watching it in here. I mean, I could see this thing going up. I could see it going down. And so I'm just going to wait a little bit. You've got kind of a key reversal yesterday. You've got an inside day bar today. You've got this coil. You're on this trend line. And so I would just put like a sell stop like under yesterday's low. Because I think Tesla still, this looks like a bad chart. This thing looks like it wants to go lower. So it's kind of still got this cadence of lower highs. So we're in this area where you could still turn around from, here. You could still go higher. So I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing a little bit more. But I always defer to the market action. So I look at a combination of, patterns, price action, what have you, and then, drill it down to a certain area. And then I'll, do something. And if the market starts acting counter to that, I'll either get out of the trade, or in the case of Zoom, I just reverse the trade. And it's hard to say when to do what, because it's just very situational and circumstantial. So Paul says, what would your reasons or strategy for getting out of Dash today? So it would really be a breach above yesterday's high, which is around 143.11. So I start shorting around 139, 140. My risk was 143. I don't think it's going to break today. It doesn't feel like it wants to break today, but I feel like I can take a peek, see how this feels. And, if it doesn't break my stop loss and it settles on the low, and we've got two of these little inside day bars, I'll stay short, but I'll use yesterday's high, about 143, as, kind of my risk. Paul says, your example on Beyond Meat. So in order to come up with the risk calculation on your account, you have to say, okay, what is a 1% risk of my account? So, if you have a $10,000 account, a 1% risk is $100. So if you're now going to risk $3 in Beyond Meat, then you could do a trade of, say, 30 shares, right? So 30 times 3 is about $90. If you lose it, that's about a little less than 1% of your account. PLBY. I used to have a subscription to PLBY when I was 12 years old. Wow, that actually looks pretty good. I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine. I didn't even know if it was even in business anymore. I don't know if this is the same. This actually looks very good. It's kind of got that long-term uptrend, the rounding bottom. It broke that neckline, and now, it looks like it's got room to move. So it looks pretty good. So sometimes, these stocks are certain things. They're in certain things and they look a certain way. What I try and do is, really drill it down where I can see a set of bars where, I can anticipate or take advantage of the energy as it comes out. So in Dash, 2 days ago, you had a huge key reversal, made a new high, close on the low. And then yesterday, you had a little, inside day bar, 143 at the high, 135.60 as a low. So now I'm using that key reversal inside day bar as a barometer or a measurement of where to get in relative to taking advantage of this trade. Certain things like PLBY, they're in the middle. You could jump on here. You don't know kind of where they're going to go from here. It looks like it's going to go higher, but I like to find a set of bars where I can get in, where I know exactly where to get in and what my risk is. If you get into PLBY now, it's like, I don't know where I put my stop loss. Don't know where I get in. It's like if you want to take a smaller position and, take a ride on something that looks like it's going higher, that's one thing. But I like to kind of dial into something where I know exactly where I'm getting in. I'm trying to anticipate where the energy is going to go, and I know exactly where my risk is. And so, that's what I look for in my setups. And then as obviously those setups get going, so let's say I was right about Dash and now, close at 134. Now tomorrow it's a whole different, calculation. I wouldn't necessarily get in. I would just now stay in my trade and see where it goes. And then, maybe I would look for another place to add to it along the way. But, sometimes, the markets are at these arbitrary levels where you say, well, one thing looks good, but then, okay, what does that mean? Where's your risk? And, and so if I can really so to me, the efficiency of trading and the comfort, why I put on these huge positions and feel absolutely no stress is because I understand my risk going in. I understand the area that I'm getting in, so PLBY, it's gone from whatever. It's gone from 40 to 55. And it could pull back from 55 to 48 and probably still be good. So it's like somewhat arbitrary. Whereas like Dash, I got in at a certain point. I know exactly where I'm getting in. I know exactly what my risk is. And now where the market goes, I have no control of that. But I at least knowing where my risk is and knowing I don't think I can get hurt just to take a peek at what's going to happen today. That's how that's my most effective style of trading. No, I'm short Dash, Francis. I'm short. Yeah, so no, there's not a reversal bar in Playboy. This thing looks like it wants to go higher. There was a reversal way back when. I see it 63, but I don't think that's controlling this show right now. Yeah, so the markets are very quiet. They're very static. I can see the stock market. They're doing nothing today. So um, the other thing that I'm short is Baidu. Again, I used a higher opening in Baidu. So Baidu, I think the close was around 188, and then I saw it was up $1 in the pre-market session at 189, and I could see that this thing had no. I just couldn't see any way this thing was going to go higher. So, even if I, opened, I got a 189 and went to 190, 191, I couldn't see it going more than a dollar or two against me. So I started shorting Baidu at 189 in the pre-market session today. The high was 189.28, so I got the high of the day right now. And right now it's trading at 186. So I've got $3 on Baidu, shorting it right at the high, right into a higher opening. So I used the energy of the higher opening into something that, I thought was going to go lower. And, I just couldn't see that there was a whole lot of risk in that trade. So where it goes from now, I don't really, I can just sit back and watch it. Manish, what Head and Shoulders? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Manish says, do you think there's a double bottom in New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar? Probably not. Let me check that out. No, no, I think that this is going to go lower. I think you need to be short New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. I think this is going to go lower. It's just hanging out at this 86.50 support level, but I think this is going to go lower. So Michael says, do you think would it be out of the breach of the prior day high? So, I think, Baidu is now, taken off to the downside. I do not think it'll come back to yesterday's high. And the next support is around $2 lower, about 184.5. And then, the next level supports around real support is 179. But this thing looks like it's going to come apart. Pound US dollar, not really trading a lot of dollar trades these days. It's just, the dollar's at the support area, which means these other currencies are at a resistance level. It may come off here. I don't know if I would short it. So for me, in order to do something in a currency, I need to see a 150 pip clear path. So if I'm going to take a 50 pip risk, which is probably the minimum that I would risk, I need to see a clear path. And so I would have to say, do I see a clear path for this thing to go, 138.5? It may, but I don't know. I'm not messing with with the dollar right now. Atul says, what about Baba? Yeah, that kind of looks bad too. Yeah, that looks really bad. That's got a gigantic double top. It's sitting on this, this recent neckline, and if it, takes that out, 204, you can kiss this thing goodbye. Yeah, there's no support in this thing. I don't see any way this thing goes up. I try and draw a picture in my mind, try and go do the other thing and say, okay, take the devil's advocate, and there's just no way I can draw anything going higher here. This is going to collapse. So I've talked about Dash. Run, I got out of. I got hurt on Run. I had some put options on Run. I got out of that. I still think it's coming down. I still think it's in a huge head and shoulders formation. And today, you're getting a nice key reversal. Maybe I should have left my put options on. I had till end of next week, the 40s. So yeah, you're gonna, I think that, I think you could short RUN. Lyft starting to run out of steam also. Yeah, so these stock markets starting to drift down now. I can see. So Lyft looks like it's hit a stall area here and could come off. Maybe I just got to get out of BYND too. It just looks like maybe the markets are just stalling here. Yeah, BYND still kind of looks okay. You can see now Dash is starting to drift down, to multi-hour low. The low's been 137.5 and is trading at 138 right now. So it's on the low of the day. So this is what I do. I short into a higher opening, and then it's got kind of nowhere for it to go. After that, if I'm right. So if I want to get on the sell side and something opens higher, to me that's like a gift. It's like that elastic band. It pulls back and creates that leverage. And so that's how I thought about Dash when I got in here. I put on a pretty big position. And to me, there was like very little risk. If the market's going to open $3-4 higher in something that's going to go lower, to me, okay, I can take that $4, and now some of my trade has been de-risked. So instead of getting in yesterday and having $4 against me. Now I got in with a $4 price rise, and now I've got maybe $3 risk from there, and I can just hang out. Let's see what happens. And I may not be right. Nothing great might happen, but I don't think I'm going to get hurt. What do you think about buying puts on Baidu? It's probably a good idea. I probably should have done that. Just let me see what they're priced at. So it's Wednesday, so the puts, for Friday are already, only 2 days away. So we're trading at what, 186. So the 185 puts, pretty expensive. So the 185 puts are 174. I mean, they've gone up 37% today. So that means you got to say that this needs to be at 183 by Friday for you to break even. So I don't know. Let me see what the next week forward looks like. So the 18th, let me go and look at, say, the 180s. So for next week, the 180 puts are 175, which means you got to see this thing by 178 by the end of next week. So I don't know. If I look at puts, I want to see that I can make 3 to 5 times my money. So that means if I'm buying these puts for next Friday at 170 and I want to make 3 times that, so now these things have got to be trading at 6 to 8, which means that this stock has got to be trading at 172 by next week. It could happen. It's just a huge bet, and the markets are pretty quiet now, so you need a pretty good move. So that's why I'm just shorting the stock. Options are just a little expensive. Bolshevik wants to look at Costco. That's kind of broken momentum too recently. I think discretionary, I saw some discretionary indexes. They starting to look like they're peaking out. So, Costco, I think if you are a 5-year investor, you do very well on this. It's just in this giant holding pattern, at all-time highs. I don't know that this thing comes off a whole lot. And I would buy any sell-off to buy if you're long-term. I think this is, if you want to stick this in your retirement portfolio, this is something that I would buy for long-term. So it's just consolidating here. Just the more it kind of hovers here, I think this is just something that you can take to the bank for long term. Ken wants to look at snow. It's an issue I look at quite often. I've made money kind of snipering some trades in that. You're just hanging out at this 250. It's got an ugly looking double top pattern, so I always think this thing's going to go lower. I would just kind of leave this one alone for now. I'm neither here nor there. I could see patterns on both sides. I just kind of leave this alone for now. Stem, I cleaned house. Maybe it's a mistake. I had $3-4 in profits. Gave it all back yesterday. But when something kind of makes a new high like it did the day before yesterday, and then goes through that previous day's low and then closes under that low, I don't know. I just get a bad feeling about that. I thought there was a lot of room to run on the upside. I probably should have taken my profits because this thing has gone straight up for 2 weeks, and I was just making so much money, and I should have at least gotten out of half my position. And then I let it come all the way back against me. And now I just don't like yesterday's price action. Maybe it can recover, and I'll see if it recovers. And if we get back to that 35 again, I'll probably rebuy it. But right now, I'm out of that issue. Yeah, it looks like these markets want to fail now. They're running out of steam. They're running out of a lot of energy to the upside. So Baidu's on the low of the day. Dash is on the low of the day. And so those may be, really stealthy sales. LVS. Yeah, I was looking at that too. I think that's a short too. Kind of building this triangle. Yeah. Yeah, LVS looks like it's given up the ghost. This is Las Vegas Sands, right? Yeah, this thing looks like it's rolling over. LVS looks like it wants to go lower. Yes. Cron, CRON. Yeah, I think we looked at that the other day. I don't know. It's a penny stock. I don't know. I don't know. It could go up. You could take a shot at this. I don't know. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do anything there. Yeah. So Kirby, I think LVS looks. Let me just kind of take a look. And then again, it's like when you're thinking of a trade, you've got to now set up a trade. Where do I put my stop? Where do I put my risk? So, yesterday, yeah, I think the path of least resistance in that is lower. So, if you want to put like a $4.50 stop on this thing, it's just you are in this giant kind of consolidation area, but I don't see how this thing's going to go higher. Put it that way. Bitcoin, boy, I don't know about that. Hit a bit of a support area here. I think Bitcoin has to take out. It looks so bad, and I don't know. This thing looks really bad. Let's see if we can just get a. There's some areas of support here. Let me just see what Ether's doing. I think Ether is probably the better one to trade if you are inclined to trade these things. So for me, Ether could grab, if Ether starts turning above 3,000, that would start looking like, maybe it made a bit of a bottom here. Ether looks like it's made a bit of a bottom here. And if it can get out of these lower highs and certainly above this 3,000 area, yeah. But I don't know, these things still look pretty nasty. So Tesla's in a big plunge. Yeah. Yeah, I think this thing feels like it wants to go a lot lower. Yeah, it feels like the markets now want to come off. I probably should have gotten out of my calls. Just feels like the markets are just stalling out here. But this is the problem with intraday trading, especially on the indexes. They go up, down, sideways, all over the place. But it does feel like everything is stalling out here. That we're just bumping up against these levels. Yeah, so this is starting to turn around. Yeah, these stock markets look like they're starting to turn now. But this intraday trading is just it's crazy. It's up, down, and sideways every. It's just a very volatile environment. So you really have to know where you're getting in and what your risk is, and that's why for me, like doing something like Dash, I don't have to worry about markets. I don't have to worry. I'm just looking at risk and reward, and now Dash is looking perfect. It's making new lows. The low yesterday was 135.5. So I've got a sell stop under the low yesterday. So yesterday's low was 135.68. So I've got shorted 140, and then I've got an additional order. If it violates yesterday's low, 135.5 to sell more. Uh, Fast wants to know about CAD yen, and then I'll probably just leave it there. I mean, this thing, it's just a huge, massive uptrend. You're just at these weekly resistance levels, and it could hang out here for a while. But I'm going to go to the monthly chart and check this out. Yeah, so this, you're at massive resistance, but that doesn't mean it's a short. I can't draw a picture in my mind this thing coming off very much. If it did pull back, I would just buy a pullback because that's all it would really be. I don't see this thing as a short. Let me just check out dollar yen right now. That's the real proxy to me. Yeah, so dollar yen, just can't make any progress to the downside either. I think these yen trades have turned. They're going higher. So the yen's getting weaker and the yen trades are going higher. I think that's a permanent trend. You've got to buy the dips in all of these things. Pound yen, euro yen, these things are going higher. Yeah, pound yen's just hanging out here, and it could hang out for a few weeks, but I think they're going higher. Euro yen making a reversal this week again. So I like the euro yen. I think you could buy the euro yen. Workhorse, I was looking at that again. It's one of these, I think a lot. What's happening in Wall Street, everybody's bored. So they're going after these dogs that are heavily shorted and trying to just run them. So that's kind of the game that's going on now, these meme stocks and whatever. But that game will end badly. So, yeah, that's got a big reversal today, and I would leave that alone or short it. MRO, and then I'll leave it there. Kind of looks like an interesting stock here. You've got a nice double bottom there. You're at this resistance level around 14. You may have to do some work here, but this may be something to keep an eye on. I think the path of least resistance is higher. That being said, you are at some resistance here. Well, what stock is that? Marathon Oil. Yeah, I mean, looks constructive. I just think you're at a resistance level now. All right, guys, have a great rest of your trading day. Have a healthy and prosperous trading day. I'll let you know if we're going to do a pre-market session kind of, get-togethers. I think it'd be a good idea. It's something that I do anyways. I'm up, an hour before the market, kind of looking at, the opportunities for the day. And, things like DoorDash. I was saying to my partner last night, I said, I want to short DoorDash into a higher opening. Now, I didn't know if it was going to be a higher opening, but the minute I saw that it's trading at 139, and it closed at 135 and a half. So it was up about $3 in the day. I said, that to me is just a laydown. I don't see this thing going a lot higher. And if you're going to give me a $3 cushion, I'm going to take it. And so I just started shorting Dash in the pre-market. It actually went higher in the aftermarket, went to about 341 or something. Yeah, 341.26. I just kept shorting into that. I shorted some above 140. And now we're on the low of the day at 137.50. So, this is what I do. And maybe I'll do these sessions where I'll show you what I'm thinking, how I'm doing it. And I don't know if you guys would be interested in that, but maybe we'll put something like that together. Have a great day.